Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Osage Mineral Council regular meeting, Wednesday meeting, October 16th, 2024. Good to see everybody. Good morning. As is our custom, we have a prayer for the meeting. Everybody rise. After the prayer, we'll read the deceased Osages, and you can sit down after the prayer. Go up to the.
Ai tatsi wakanda ishi. Nisu wali abdabria ha de akali apata ha de kistoma nika shin kanka. Sila ekta shki no ha that's it. Dak eli koma dak eli la ha that's. De kon se aha de wali de lagni de wak shu de kon ngat kai. De kon se aha de maja that's it. Oh, although ha de se ha de don't ha de she. Wadita, wadira, and all ha they say the shock here, they all a condom the kai. Homoli basuliaka. Zanzoli wahakuli anika shin ka de la bria ha letsi. Ia kashena, kakokakia shekombra. It's all these things we ask. You bless our mighty nation, bless our leaders and their homes. Thank you, Lord, and we thank you for all. Amen.
See. Greetings.
Reading of the deceased, list of deceased Osage Indians on September 2024. James Norton Jr., Leander, Texas. Patricia Bush, Winter Haven, Florida. Judith Hall, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Clement Lesser, Ponca City, Oklahoma. Margaret Champlin, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Kelly Fallon, Roanoke, Virginia. Arthur Dryman, Owasso, Oklahoma. Jay Billingsley, Guadalajara, Mexico. Kashana.
Thank you, Councilor Acorn.
Thank you.
Superintendent report. Thank you for being here, Superintendent. Roll call. Roll call.
Councilman Big Horse.
Here.
Second Chair Tishwala.
Present.
Councilwoman Irwin. Here. Councilman Redcorn.
Here.
Chairman Red Eagle.
Here.
Councilman Rebar.
Present.
Councilman Shackelford.
Here.
Councilman Waller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Lacey. Now the superintendent.
Thank you for being here. I'd like to read in the report for October 16, 2024 for oil, gas, and water royalty produced in August 2024. The total oil produced was 302,255.88 barrels, and the royalties paid was $3,416,246.77. The total gas produced was 131,037 MCFs, and the royalties paid was $26,080.01. The total gas liquids produced was 157,453 gallons, and the royalties paid was $20,745.15. The total water usage royalty paid and waste disposal royalties paid were both zero. For rentals and bonuses, oil and gas rentals paid was $4,142.36. For oil and gas bonuses paid was $0. For rentals, it was $0. For salt, water easement rentals, it was $2,400 collected, and for late penalty charges, it was $1,080.80. For other minerals produced, APAC produced 30,982.08 tons and paid $38,572.69 in royalties. For August, Caney Creek Crusher produced 7,220 128.02 tons and paid $7,770.12 in royalties for July. Burbank Materials produced 10,617.40 tons and paid $13,696.44 in royalties for July. Wilson Ranch produced 350.97 tons and paid $175.50 in royalties for August. Rocky Banks produced 30 cubic yards and paid $25 in royalties for August. And Schmidt Brothers produced 784 cubic yards and paid $588 in royalties for July. For the producing wells, or wells capable of production, there was 16,446 on record. Of those, 11,936 were oil wells, 1,342 were classified as gas wells, 5 were classified as gas with easements. There were 114 combination well and gas wells. There were 494 that were TA'd. 71 CO2 injection wells. There's 51 water and gas injection wells. There's 130 saltwater disposal wells with easements and 937 saltwater disposal wells without easements, or 1,254 injection wells. And then there were 8 injection wells with easements. There were 102 water supply wells, and then 2 water supply wells with easements for approved permits. There are 21 workover permits approved, 28 plugging permits approved, 0 emergency pluggings, and 0 emergency workover permits, and then 4 new drilling permits that were approved. And there was no new drilling condition reported for the month. That completes the formal report.
Thank you, Superintendent, appreciate it very much. On the drilling permits, who were they?
I'd have to circle back with you. I think, from my recollection, it was, I think 3 of them were capture point. I think we had one other one, but I don't remember off the top of my head who the other party was.
Good morning. How are you? These 28 plugging permits, how many of them were the Osage Nation?
These ones, the first ones we've issued for the nation, worked until, I believe, last week. So they wouldn't account for any of these.
Okay,
These would have been other operators, or actual
But they have
operators.
submitted, how many have they submitted?
I'm not sure off the top of my head of total numbers. I think it's verging double digits at this point. Somewhere around there.
Okay. Good enough, thank you.
Councilman Rebar.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Superintendent. Along the same subject of the Osage Nation plugging permits, if I'm not mistaken, you once told us that there was a outsourcing of some of the approvals to consultants I think, available to your office. Are any of those permits being outsourced to those outside consultants?
What they're IESC, the Indian Energy Service Center, we've been partnering with them and meeting with them bi-weekly on assistance with this. All of the engineering on those is being routed through them. All of the remaining review is handled in-house. They're just providing essentially the petroleum engineer review of it to make sure that it meets the requirements for essentially just a sound structural plan for the plugging.
Will they also be used for workover permits from our producers?
No, all of that's still being handled in-house, and that was the kind of the way we had contemplated it, was they would assist with the orphan well pluggings that the nation was pursuing, so that our staff could remain focused on current production.
So our one and only engineer, Steve Culver, is working strictly on drilling and workover permits, and this outsourcing goes to, is being utilized for the plugging program?
Correct. Under our current arrangement, that's how it's being routed. Those are being routed to them to have the plugging plans reviewed by their petroleum engineers.
I think you told me once, or told us once, that this entity that you referred to that's assisting in the plugging permit could also be used for workovers and drilling permits, is that right?
They've offered it in the past. Currently, we've kind of elected or opted to continue doing it in-house, just to make sure that our staff, which is familiar with this, Osage tends to do things a little bit different. So rather than training their staff on it, it's just to continue having Mr. Kohler review the workovers, anything related to active.
Does he have a backlog?
What was that?
Do you know if Mr. Kohler has a backlog of permit approvals?
We don't have any backlog. We have a few that are in a 30-day appeal process, which are waiting for that period to conclude, but we don't have any, to my knowledge, that are waiting on workover or plugging or drilling plans to be reviewed.
Finally, does this entity that you refer to, what's the name of it again?
Indian Energy Service Center.
Indian Energy Service Center. Are they also available for realty, for lease assignment approvals or division order approvals?
No, what it is, it's an office in the Office of Trust Services within the Interior, the Department of Interior. So it's not an outside contractor, they're all government employees. They're there to make sure that trust assets that are held in federal trust are properly managed for, I believe they're limited to just Native American lands. That's what their purpose is, to make sure that energy and lands that are held there are properly developed, and that any development is done. They do feasibility studies, they assist with that. I'm not an expert on the full gamut of what they offer. Thus far, what they've been doing for us is helping with the review the plugging permits that the nation has submitted for the orphan well ones, and then they've been coming and helping scan documents to facilitate those as well. And on that same line, the first batch of documents that the nation had requested that related to that, pursuant to the resolution you guys issued last month, I've got that first batch ready for transmittal, and we'll be transmitting that probably here later today, of the documents they're requesting for well history.
Okay, great.
So that'll be transmitted today, and then following up on a prior request to the lease status reports, we're continuing to work on those. What I've asked my staff to do, we're scanning those in, but at the same time trying to reconcile who didn't submit those. So that slowed the process a little bit, because in the past they just scanned them in, but never went in and requested those additional lessee status reports from the parties who had submitted them.
Those are for 2 years, the 2023 and the 2022.
2022 we should have done. I thought those had been transmitted to you. If they have not, then I will follow up.
I asked our staff this morning, and they haven't received anything.
Okay.
Okay, they thought they were still being scanned, but those are.
2022 has been full scan.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have one final question. Regarding the well records, and when they were removed from the public access, I think that happened.
Hang on there, cowboy. Hang on.
I believe that was implemented in 2015. I'm not sure if it was due to something that was on the books prior to that and just got enforced in 2015. Are you familiar with why the well records were removed from public access to begin with?
I think it may be semantics. I don't think that it's removed from public access. What it is that depending upon the volume that's being requested or whether the party is an interested party, it may require a FOIA. And that's where there may be some just misconfusion on it. That in the prior practice, from my understanding, and again, this is well before my tenure, was that they were just open to the public and anyone could come in and request those.
And what happened? Then what happened?
That's inconsistent with federal law. With
So
federal law,
they haven't been complying with the federal law all those decades.
correct.
Okay, and so around 2015, they started enforcing that compliance. let me ask you this. Part of it had to do with privacy of certain information that are on the form, like someone's address. I hear a lot of times the word thrown, or the term thrown out about somebody's social security number, which is, I think, nonsense, because none of the forms that we are talking about require or even have a place for a social security number. But I will say this, and here's what I don't understand. These well records have been in the public domain for 100 years plus. Some of them, anyway. Maybe most of them. But, and even today, the producers that submit the forms as required for permits and others, completion reports on work that's already been performed, they do so with the knowledge and understanding that the records will be available publicly. They knowingly know, and then they submit them knowing good well that when they submit it, it's available at that moment to the public. So the generator of the data that's on those forms are not concerned about the privacy. I just don't know why we can't overcome this major obstacle, because it's so vital to our development of our mineral estate. I just want to try to get some clarification, so it's something that should have been protected all these years that was not.
It's not so much that the records themselves have to be protected. What it is since 1974, there's been the Federal Privacy Act, which requires us to review any documents that go out to the public. So it's a matter just of more of a pragmatic thing than anything, is that before we can make any documents public, I can't just go back there and grab a folder and hand it off to a third party. I've got to have someone go through and review that to make sure there's nothing that's sensitive in there. Although on the production side, there's not a ton we deal with that has privacy concerns, on the trust side and on the IM accounts and everything else we do, there's a ton of things. So again, it may be a rare possibility, but there is a possibility that something got commingled in those folders. Before releasing it, we've got to review those folders.
So for 50 years, we're talking exactly 50 years, from 74 to 24. My math is correct. This has been on the books, and we're just now doing it. And if I'm not mistaken, you all are having these redacted, and the people doing the redaction, the contractor, is no longer available. The contract expired 2 years ago or longer, before you came on board, if I'm not mistaken. And there's nobody currently even doing that work right now, is there?
I'm not sure which means during my tenure, I think there's only 2 records requests that we haven't been able to fulfill.
No, I don't mean record requests. I mean, bring them all back over here and put them back in the podcast.
I mean, making them publicly available.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's what we need to develop our minerals. We have to have access to those wells.
That's what I'm saying. Since my tenure, I'm only aware of 2 requests that operators or interested parties have made that haven't been able to be fulfilled without requiring them to submit a FOIA. If someone comes in and requests for a specific unleased parcel, the well history, we've been able to accommodate that request at least. We're not always able to go in and make them photocopies of everything. If you're talking about a few people have requested made voluminous requests in which we do have to require a FOIA, because for labor and for production costs.
Okay. Let me interrupt here and say this. We have voted on an adopted resolution to have a lease sale in January. And at some point, the BIA will send out a notice that we're going to have a lease sale. I've not seen one yet, so, but I assume one is forthcoming. When it is, if somebody from, say, an oil and gas active area like Denver or Houston, even Oklahoma City or Tulsa, might be interested in nominating some tracts for a lease sale, they need to know what's available to lease, and they probably need access to some well records to start looking around to see where they might want to explore and develop. They won't know specific well names and tracts to ask for certain well records to even start that process. So a FOIA is not really an option, because I've talked to people who have asked for well records on a given area. For instance, the continental wells. Somebody has mentioned to me that I'd like to have copies of the continental well records to look at them, because y'all keep talking about these continental wells. So where do I get the records? When they inquired about it, it's too vast amount for a FOIA. They said, you gotta be specific. Well, they don't even know where these wells are to begin with, to even ask for a specific well, because somebody may need the XYZ well number 1A. Well, if they don't know anything about what's in that quarter section, they don't know there is that 1A well in there. So they don't know to ask for the 1A well. So I don't see a resolution to this major problem. And it's in my opinion, besides the pending CFRs, it's the most vital thing that we need to develop our mineral estate.
That's right.
So, and then, and that reminds me too, about the CFRs, and let me just, and I'll be done. Sorry about that. Did I run out of time?
I never even turned it
Anybody else have a
Okay,
question?
well, you got,
That's only
okay,
for
I just
me.
want to know about the CFRs. Is there any movement on the CFRs, the status of the implementation of those final rules?
I haven't heard anything further.
Okay, any other questions from this council?
Thank you,
If I
Chairman.
could respond.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we did have one FOIA request for information pertaining to the continental leases, and the feedback was that that was too opaque. I mean, you had to be a little bit more specific than the continental leases, and the guidance we had given the requester was to come back to us and we would provide more, we would work with them. I don't think they ever took us up on the offer. I don't know. They don't come to me for that. But we've always been willing to accommodate and work with producers to keep production going. It's incumbent upon them to follow up on that.
Well, they don't know what they don't know. So they don't even know where they are.
Thank you, Stewart. Thank you very much. I got a couple of comments. Also, for the record, I canceled the Harvest thing on the agenda, so it is canceled. I scratched it off, so that's down the line. But also, Superintendent, we've been meeting on the election committee the last couple of months or so, and one of the points that we've come across is the list of addresses of shareholders. And the election is quite a ways away, you know, but we'd like to kind of give you a reminder that we'd like to have an updated list from time to time, because in 2026, which is a little under 2 years from now, and we're going to be asking for a list, you know, for all the shareholders. So we'd like to give you a little heads up on it, and that way we can kind of be ready for it in 2026 when that time comes. It's almost 2025 right now, and before we know it, we'll be, you know, right. We're meeting every month on the election committee and trying to give you a little update on it. One of the biggest problems we found out is a lot of the addresses are outdated. Is that correct? Yeah. And we like to keep them updated and who's passed away and who is. We just read a list a while ago that they were shareholders, you know, so they're going every day. So I'd like to keep that up to date, kind of give a reminder that we're working on that election for 2026. We'd like to get it right this time. Anybody else? Thank you, Superintendent. Appreciate it very much. And we decided to go into executive session with the Treasurer Clark Vance and the BTFA if she would like to join us. And I'm sure she's not going to be able to be here today. Yes, sir. Stephanie's here.
BTFA is gonna give their reports first.
Yeah.
And then executive.
Please. Give them the report.
Their regular monthly report.
Okay. Go ahead, Steve. Thank you. Thank you,
Good
Benny.
morning.
Good morning.
I don't have anything new to report. We have done the soft launch of what I mentioned before with the call center, where you can call in and get some very minimal information, account balance, or your last transaction. So that seems to be going well for beneficiaries. And that's the toll-free number, the 888-678-6836. You can call in and kind of do some automation on your own without having to wait to talk with somebody. Other than that, business as usual.
Any questions from the council to the EDFA?
Will she stay for the executive session?
Yes, you're welcome to stay.
Yeah, on the advice of the solicitors, I'm not able to stay. So, I
know Joyce will be here.
Yeah, she's not gonna be able to make it.
Thank you, Stephanie, appreciate it very much.
Is that it?
Thank you, Stephanie.
What's that phone number again?
Mine is 918-287-5794.
Thank you.
You guys have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Open the floor for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion, we go into executive session.
Motion on the floor, need a second. Second by Councilman Big Horse. Any discussion?
Question, please.
Call the question. Call the question.
Councilman Big Horse,
Yes.
Now Carter has a call.
Second Chair Mr. Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Irwin,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Chairman Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Shackelford,
Yes.
Councilman Waller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Hey, visitors, thank you for being here. We should be